give this town a chance.
Why?
Because maybe then we'll finally know more about Dad.
Listen, I was going to binge through this show, but I am not allowed now because my little girl and my girlfriend came down and started watching it with me. So I'm not allowed to watch it without them because the show is that great. But this is a fantastic coming of age story that is in the same vein of Friday Night Lights meets Fast and the Furious with a little bit of Sons of Anarchy in there. The series uses car culture as a backdrop for themes like identity, loyalty, and rebellion. What do you think Cars represents for each of your characters? And we'll start with you, Ryan.
Cars represent a lifelong love affair and romance for my character. I think it's something that's, from a very young age, it was a area of interest of his. Obviously, then, we learn he sort of trained his younger brother to be a driver and to race. He then got into NASCAR, which was his dream job, to work in NASCAR as a top mechanic. And so I think it's been his primary interest, focus, hobby his whole life.
How about for you, Michael?
I mean, not to be corny, but I do feel like it's kind of like a sense of like salvation for Zach. You know what I mean? Like it's like a sense of hope. And there's like, wow, I can actually be something. You know what I mean? It's like it's the future and the past, because there's like, obviously his whole backstory with his father and everything. But I think that it's a sense of, it gives Zach a sense of being, which he never really had before.
Absolutely. Now, Ryan, at the heart of the Motorheads is this mystery surrounding Logan's brother, Zach's father, Christian Maddox, and his past bank heist. How does the story unfold through flashbacks, and how does that reshape our understanding of both characters, Logan and Christian, and some of the other characters as the season progresses?
It really heavily reshapes the way you view almost everyone in the story to some degree. And that's what I love about the show is that, we've got all of the coming of age moments, and we've got the humor and the heart, but there is also multiple mysteries going on that you get glimpses into how they unfolded in the past, and the puzzle sort of starts to come together by the end of our first season. And it gives a lot of insight as to why my character left his dream job to come back home. It gives a lot of insight as to why they don't know their father and where is he at this point in time. And so it's very cool to follow that part of the story along as well.
Absolutely. I got to season 3, and you don't know how hard it was not to hit the next one and had to wait for them.
Well, that's the thing. It's an incredibly bingeable series, and every episode ends with a cliffhanger. It leads you right into the next one. So I feel like hope that people are just going to watch this thing all in one go.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, it's so easy to do. So easy to do. Now, Michael, Zach's the new kid and already clashing with Harris Bauer. It's a classic underdog versus golden boy dynamic, but there's a lot more going on with Harris that is beneath the surface. What can you tell us about their rivalry, and how does Zach channel his father's legacy against someone like Harris?
Well, I think it's cool because, there's a big parallel here because, obviously my father was also like Harris's father's like biggest challenger. So like it's like it's a parallel, except it's kind of like a paradigm shift where my father was the legendary racer and then Harris became the legendary racer. And now I'm coming back into town and I'm like trying to work my way back up to get to that level and try to surpass him and live up to my father's legacy too, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely. I love that aspect of the show. Now, Ryan, Logan is the voice of reason for a lot of these teens, and he's seen it all in Ironwood. Talk to me about his protection of the town, what keeps him going, and how he sees himself through this younger generation.
Well, I think firstly, the town is struggling a bit. I think various industries it used to depend on have moved on. And I think part of his coming back home is to try to breathe new life into it in whatever small ways he can, realizing that once you're out in the world, that really community is so important and having a sense of family, and he wants to protect that. And I think that's also comes along with the Torres family coming to live with him. It's like we build a new family of our own kind. It may not look like everyone else's, but the same needs and wants and desires are there. And I think throughout their lives, he's always felt the loss of their father and wanted to make up for that and is a paternal figure in that way. And also to some of the other kids in town. Marcel has a rough home life, and it's clear that Logan has a soft spot for him. And so it's a nice character that way.
I love that this show also is about found family, and I feel like there's this great touching dynamic between Marcel and Zach. Michael, can you talk about that dynamic, and also this great sibling dynamic between Zach and Caitlin? Can you talk about those two dynamics as we see in the series?
Totally. I mean, I think when Zach first finds Marcel, he thinks he's kind of like a quirky dude. You know what I mean? And he just like kind of writes him off. But I think as the show goes along, he realizes like how much heart he has and like how kind of a human he is and like what kind of friend he is. And I think that Zach hasn't really had that kind of camaraderie, at least not in a long time. And so he really appreciates it and comes to really love Marcel.
Absolutely. Now, look,
siblings go, Zach and Caitlin, they're, whenever they're even at odds, they are still like so on the same team. You know what I mean? Even when they're kind of like butting heads, like I think Zach knows like his love for Caitlin is so deep, and like they have this thing where no matter what happens and no matter what's going on between them, like if Caitlin called, he would be there. Like that's the kind of like relationship that he has with his sister. And like he loves her to death and she loves him to death. And like, even though they butt heads, you know what I mean? They're siblings at the end of the day. So of course they're always going to butt heads.
And it's amazing how instantaneously the two of them became like brother and sister in every way imaginable. It was really awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's incredible. Look, Dottie is a car that everyone learns to drive in town. And it's kind of like a character in her own right. Did either of you have a name for your first car, and what did that ride teach you?
Oh man. I actually don't, I think my first car's name was Christina or something like that. It was, I had an old Cressida, and I think like it taught me, that whatever I wanted to have, I had to work for it. I feel like that's been like a very like consistent theme in my life. And it's like, if I wanted something that was nice, I had to make it nice, and I had to kind of do it myself, which is fine. And I think that has been like a strong through line in my life.
Incredible. How about for you, Ryan?
Yeah, I didn't really have a name for my first car. I don't think I've named too many of my cars, maybe a couple. But what I associate most with those early days of driving and the freedom that comes along with the first time you're allowed to be out on your own. For me, there was a direct connection to music there. Like I remember a new album would come out that I've been dying for its release, and I'd get in my car and play that new album and just drive. Didn't matter where I was going, just the freedom that comes along with that and just kind of immersing yourself in the experience.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's something that I associate with my early days of driving.
That's actually so true. When Frank Ocean put out Blonde, I was like, when I just started learning how to drive, and I would listen to Blonde all the time, just drive nowhere. Just like when I wanted to listen to Frank Ocean so bad. So just drive nowhere and just listen to Blonde. It was great.
That's what I do with podcasts now. But look, this show is fantastic. I love the one question that there are two kinds of people in life, a hit the brakes guy or a hit the gas guy. I feel like I'm a hit the brakes guy, but the show's incredible. So I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Michael, congratulations, all the success. Ryan, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, dude. Take it easy, Joe.
Take care.
I've seen this movie. It doesn't have a good ending.
Come on, let's hear that engine roar.